Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Jeremiah.
Yay, DJ!
How you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great. AJ's face when you said that I correctly identified all the Hall of Famers was pretty fantastic, by the way.
Well, yeah, he probably thinks
I trust you.
Nobody can do that. But if anybody could, it would be you. You were the one that Tone quoted as saying maybe Kirk or Sam Darnold to Pittsburgh or Kirk to...
He said both. On the 40s in free agency show, I believe it was, I was listening to it this morning. He said, if the Steelers don't sign Justin Fields and Sam Darnold doesn't go back to the Vikings, Sam Darnold to the Steelers, and then he was the first one to talk about Kirk potentially back to the Vikings.
Which would be insane, especially after he goes and gets his bag. The Vikings didn't want to pay him, allegedly, because they had to pay Justin Jefferson and everybody else. Then he's able to go back to the offense that he knows has done very well, and he also got paid, and the Vikings don't have to be the one. That would be the best-case scenario for the Vikings, I feel like, in their mind with the Kirk Cousins situations. How do you see it working out, especially after the combine with the QBs?
Yeah, I think the quarterback carousel is fascinating. Let's start with Pittsburgh there, Pat. I just feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers, when we get to Monday, when this whole thing kicks off, that they have to have either Justin Fields or Sam Darnold in the fold. To me, those are the two guys that make the most sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, whatever way they go, we'd have to wait and see. And then with Sam in Minnesota, I think it's tricky because it makes sense for, obviously, the year he's coming off of, Minnesota try and bring him back, but I don't know how long the commitment would be. So if everything's equal, if you have Minnesota with a one-year offer and say it's Pittsburgh and whoever else is in the mix there, if it's all 1 year, even for less money, I think you stay in Minnesota if you're sitting there as Sam Darnold. But if one of these teams is willing to commit to you longer than that, I think you have to take it. And then it leaves Minnesota with I think people misinterpreted the Cousins thing. Like, why would he bring back Kirk and then not let JJ go? No, JJ is going to be the starter, but you have to have some veteran insurance there. First of all, the guy needs to stay healthy. And with Kirk Cousins, I just thought it was a unique opportunity of somebody who, as you guys were mentioning, knows the offense inside and out. Atlanta's footing the bill, so it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you next to nothing. He can literally play for the league minimum like Russell Wilson did last year. So. That's why I thought that was a fascinating one. And some people thought that shadow maybe would be too big for JJ. But Pat, you go to me on that one. Anybody that's met Kirk Cousins or been around Kirk Cousins, like that's not really who he is. I don't think that would be the case at all.
He had a lot of success in Minnesota. Would he want to go from, being a backup to Michael Penix Jr. to a backup to J.J. McCarthy? Kirk Cousins would have to have that discussion because who knows what the market looks like for Kirk Cousins. And aren't people saying that maybe he's back with Atlanta as the backup quarterback for Penix Jr.? Anyways, you're saying no from what you're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I know that's been out there, but that's in the Falcons' best interest to put that out there. Hey, no, we're comfortable. Nope, we're not going to cut him. We're gonna hold on to him. So if you want him, you got to trade for him, and then you're going to have to eat some of this money. So that I don't really read too much into what's coming out of Atlanta on that point.
Okay, so on that note, let's assume Kirk is available. There's probably some teams like, what about the Raiders? What about the Raiders that potentially would like a Kirk Cousins? Maybe Tom Brady says, Kirk has played a lot of winning ball. He's obviously very quick at learning things. He's fast. He's smart. And even if we get a young guy, watch Kirk work for like a year or two. Kirk is another stopgap quarterback almost, and he can maybe win some games. Kirk will win you some games. Now, are they going to be able to win a Super Bowl? Who knows? But I'm excited to see who ends up where. What about Aaron Rodgers for the Minnesota Vikings?
Ooh.
What about Aaron Rodgers for the Minnesota Vikings? Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. It would only be a one-year deal, we would assume. So J.J. McCarthy gets to watch, gets to see how Aaron would operate. For 1 year, it's not a long-term investment. I don't know if Aaron's looking for a 2-3 year investment. A.J. Hawk would be the one that'd be able to give that type of information. But as you think about the Brett Favre path here, it's like you go to the Jets, doesn't work out. You go over to Minnesota, it did, though.
Big time.
And especially now, it looks like it could work out, especially if you're an accurate quarterback who knows where the hell to go with the ball. That is seemingly what matters in a Kevin O'Connell offense, DJ.
Well, can you just repeat it and say it again with Minnesota and Aaron Rodgers? Because I wasn't looking at AJ. I want to look at AJ's reaction and to see if I'm a good poker player, if I can read it and get a good feel for what this looks like.
AJ, all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers. I think he would be okay with Aaron finding a good home. Right, AJ? Isn't that kind of how you would view that? But Packers fans would not be thrilled, obviously.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Favre thing was one thing because he played with the Jets and you just didn't. And then, obviously, he came in and kind of beat the Packers' ass when he was with the Vikings. But this one would just be... I mean, I lived it once. I don't need to live it again. And this Vikings team, kind of like that Vikings team with Favre, there's a chance they could, if he plays the way he did at the end of last season, they could win a Super Bowl with him, which would be just the worst thing ever.
And could you fathom Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Davante Adams,
Aaron Jones
Aaron
back.
Jones? Yeah, that would be bad.
Jordy Nelson coming off the farm.
He would never.
AJ, what are your thoughts on all of it? Obviously speculation, and who knows how much you know. Legitimately, who knows how much you know from that side of it. But these are all potentially possible right now with this current quarterback carousel, AJ.
Yeah, I guess they are. Like Minnesota seems weird for me for that to happen. I feel like with J.J. McCarthy, why would you want Aaron in there? I feel like you want J.J. to come back and start and have like maybe a vet backup that would, you would feel good about if J.J. has a hiccup. Yeah, to help him out. Aaron is going to come in and be a starter wherever he goes. I would imagine that's what he plans on doing. But DJ, like, where do you think is actually a good fit for Aaron? Like coach-wise, schematically, where do you think you are legit possibilities?
Well, I mean, the one that was number one on the list was the Rams until Stafford, and that got all worked out. That was the one that made the most sense.
Are the Giants going hard at him, DJ? We heard yesterday. Who was that? Was that Art?
That's it.
Art was telling us.
Art Stapleton said they're negotiating right now. He covers the Giants.
I have not heard the Giants connected with any of the veteran quarterbacks other than Aaron Rodgers. And for a team that feels like when you look at the situation there, with coach and general manager like this, there's some urgency here. We need to get ready to go. We need to win right now. So who's the win right now quarterback? It's Aaron Rodgers. So that one to me seems like there should be some urgency on their part. I know I felt like with the Giants, if they had two tracks, they either trade up to one to get Cam Ward and ensure that they have Cam Ward, and then maybe they shop in kind of that second tier veteran backup market for just some insurance there for Cam to kind of help him, maybe buy him a little bit of time. But if they don't have a deal done as we go into free agency, then to me, it's like they got to, I don't know who else is in on Aaron Rodgers, but it would seem to reason that nobody should outbid the Giants. They would have the most to gain there.
Allegedly, the offer they made to Stafford was very big, and the comp for the Rams was worthy of a trade in Les Snead's eyes and Sean McVay's eyes. And then Matthew Stafford met with them on Friday morning of the Combine and decided he was going to stay with the Rams. Sean McVay has described that deal as being very selfless. So we don't know the actual numbers, but we think it's going to be a lot less than what the Giants were offering. That's kind of seemingly how the story was going. Would Daboll and he be a good fit, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Look, they've got some good pieces in place, so they need to get a couple more offensive linemen. Obviously, with Saquon leaving, everybody's going to focus on that. But Tyron Tracy is nowhere near Saquon Barkley, but he's a good player. Like, he's a good back. Neighbors is a legit number one wide receiver with New York. So they've got a couple interesting pieces in place, and they need to be active here upcoming in free agency. All these teams have money, and to me, I think you're going to see, a lot of them are actually going to be kind of patient and wait for the second wave. The Giants, to me, would be one of those teams that would serve to be a little bit aggressive here, come out the chute and get something done.
Yeah, come on, Giants. Because last offseason we saw, this offseason, let's do something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck out there. We're pulling for you. Let's stick with the quarterbacks, especially with the veteran ones. The conversation that's looming with all the vets, these young guys trying to make a name for themselves. Connor, Aquaman has a question for you.
Yeah, DJ, it feels like those top 5 picks are huge, especially those first 3, just kind of shaping the rest of the draft and kind of free agency. Do you see 2 quarterbacks going in the top 5 picks? You mentioned the Giants trading up there, and from reports that we've heard, the Browns are definitely taking a quarterback, and we saw Mary Kay Cabot report that, they love Shador, that one man's brash is another's treasure is what was in the article she wrote about how they feel about Shador. Do you see the Giants and Browns definitely going quarterback here? Do you think that's possible? And then are the Titans definitely not taking a quarterback? Is that completely out of the question? There's no way they're taking a QB. They're definitely going to roll with Levis for another year or sign one in free agency?
I would say up in the air on the first pick with the Titans. I wouldn't rule out Cam Ward there. I think that's still a legitimate possibility. The interesting thing would be if Rodgers gets done with the Giants. If Rodgers gets done with the Giants and you're in a kind of a all in right now, we need to win to survive, so to speak. To me, if you're sitting there and Travis Hunter's there and you're the Giants, and I've got a chance to have Aaron Rodgers and I can go out on one side with Malik Neighbors, and maybe the first year maybe we want Travis Hunter to just kind of focus more on offense. Man, that changes that offense real quick, and they become very interesting and very exciting. So that might pull the Giants out of the quarterback market, even at Aaron's age. I just think there's an urgency there. So that one is TBD. The Browns, I've been saying all along, made the most sense as a team that needed to take a quarterback. Now, talking to people around the league, there's some that say, okay, yeah, no, they're going to take a quarterback, but I wouldn't necessarily make it a lock that they're going to do it with their first pick. They've done their homework on this second tier quarterbacks as well. So don't rule that out.
On
so,
who? We'll see. Daniel Jeremiah? Because I read a Kurt Warner tweet. I don't know if you guys saw this. Kurt Warner put out a tweet. He's watching all the film of all the guys. Okay, as you know, Kurt Warner, he does all his work. He's diligent to a T in everything that he does talking ball. Been watching the last 4 games for top NFL draft QBs, and Will Howard had the best 4-game stretch of any quarterback I've watched so far. And it really wasn't even that close. Great throws, consistent accuracy, downfield throws, good reads, multiple concepts, etc., etc., etc. He'd continue to go on with etc. if he could. He ran out of characters in that entire thing. And he saw the same 4 games that we saw live in person, which is why I felt the way I did going into the combine. He had a bad day, huh? Throwing at the combine, DJ, that's what they're saying. He had a bad day out there. What's the takeaway of Will Howard? And is Jackson Dart solidified as the number 3 QB now?
Well, first of all, Kurt sent me that text. I was going back through it to pull it. Yeah, because he knew Will Howard going back to K-State because his kid played with him at Kansas State. So he's known about Will for a long time. But yeah, look, I agree with you in terms of that 4-game stretch. It was a really nice run.
You agree with Hall of Famer Kurt Warner? You agree with Hall of Famer Kurt Warner? You mean? I'm sorry, not just me.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you got to do more than just
ball knower, former Iowa barnstormer, Kurt Warner. You name
movie star.
Guy knows ball. You agree with Kurt Warner and myself and
America's underdog
and many others. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He is America's underdog. He's look, the thing when you look at him and Will Howard is just, do you have, can you drive the ball? Do you have enough just pure velocity? And can you fit balls in windows that you didn't necessarily have to do much of there at Ohio State? That was the question. The combine, look, Pat, he didn't throw it great there. I think you can help yourself at the combine in the throwing. I don't necessarily ever punish anybody for what you see in the
Us
throwing.
neither. We like that.
It's come on. You're throwing to guys you don't know. It's a weird atmosphere. So I don't hold that against him. You get a chance at his pro day to throw to guys he knows and he's familiar with. I think you'll see him throw it better. I think he's in that conversation for the third, fourth quarterback. The names you hear the most, I have Jackson Dart as the 3rd. Tyler Shuck is in that conversation with a lot of teams who are high on him. And then there's Will Howard. If you're looking for a place for Will Howard, it's pretty easy dots to connect. If the Raiders aren't super active in addressing the veteran side of things, and they just get a stopback quarterback, who knows Will Howard better than Chip Kelly? So why would that not be an opportunity for him somewhere on day 2 to land with a coach that he's very familiar with?
They have no quarterback in Las Vegas currently, although Max Crosby has come out and said would love Aaron Rodgers as a Las Vegas Raider, which adds a whole nother, because maybe Will Howard does come in behind Aaron Rodgers. There's just so many situations where it sounds like signing the veteran free agent doesn't necessarily change the mindset of the team trying to get a young quarterback. And you know who's been doing this consistently? The Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
It's almost just like this is what you need to do with the current model of NFL that we're in right now.
Well, if
you know what we need though? You know what we need though, guys? Sorry, Boston.
Oh, my bad.
Connor, we got to get a deal that we don't even know about. We are talking about the same names, right? The veteran names, the draft names. We've been talking about them forever. The NFL needs to come through for us early next week, and we need a quarterback trade that just shakes the whole thing
to
up.
The Lakers. Yeah.
I'll take that. I don't know that we're going to get the Luka level, but who's like a mid-tier, 12 and 6 game.
Maybe there's big names on the potential trade market. It might not be a quarterback, but Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, DJ, I wanted to ask about the Chargers since you cover them. You do their play-by-play. It feels like we were talking about they could be a wide receiver away from a deep playoff run. Obviously, they hit on Ladd McConkey last year. They have Quentin as well in there. Is a guy like DK, do you see them potentially going after a guy like DK or Davante, who said he's wanted to play out on the West Coast? Do you see them making a big splash in the wide receiver market this free agency?
Those are interesting names, and Godwin would be another kind of veteran that's out there that would really help. To me, if you're looking for the complementary piece, like DK would be, he fits because of he's like a jumbo-sized Mike Williams, who Herbert had a ton of success with the big physical wide receiver on the outside, would complement Ladd McConkey a lot. I also think you can look at Davante Adams. You know, Davante Adams, skill set wise, like the way he plays is similar to the way Keenan Allen functioned with Herbert, and Keenan Allen's numbers when he was with the Chargers were off the charts. So that one would make some sense as well. So I think Joe Ortiz loves draft picks, and I was with him and worked with him in Baltimore and have known him forever. I know he's a big fan of holding on to his picks. So that would be the one thing on the DK side of it that, you know, depending on how much that costs in terms of draft picks, now, maybe that pushes him towards one of these other free agents that you can go out there and just pay.
I do wonder where DK is going to head to. Where's Myles Garrett going to end up? There's some big names.
Everybody's saying DK to New England, man. Everybody in the league thinks that.
I like that.
I
like that, DJ. Keep spinning that
What do you mean
wheel.
in the league? What do you mean? You're getting texts from people around the league saying,
No, yeah, DK comes available. You just talk to a bunch of buddies around the league, and they're like, that just makes too much sense. They have all the money. They have all the space. They have no weapons. The high second-round pick, what are they picking, like 38, something like that?
Yeah, and they got 2/3.
so you give a
So there goes second-round pick DK Metcalf.
Boom. Second and third, 2/3. $35 million. Get your ass over here. You can't spell Metcalf without May. Boom. You can't spell McAfee without May.
yeah, there's a Y in there. There's a Y in there. But the quote of Vrabel saying we got compensation, we got opportunity up here. And he's trying to shift that culture. You get DK in there, bought into, not a bad person for Drake May to be able to
What if Drake May, like if you're the Patriots, and I think that they would have competition here from the Chiefs because of the moves that the Chiefs made. The Chiefs now have a hole at left guard, left tackle. Ronnie Stanley makes a ton of sense for the Chiefs to kind of be aggressive in free agency. I would also say New England should be at least having the Ronnie Stanley conversation. You go out in the first week and you give Drake May a left tackle and a number one wide receiver, now we're cooking.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley is reportedly the number one free agent target for the
Who's
Patriots.
saying that? Stuts and puts?
So I don't know about Stutz and Puts, but I do know that there are people in the area in the know that are saying Stanley is the top guy for them, and then a couple other names, of course.
One of them up there said something terrible about me. Josh Pate went to bat for me.
Oh, yeah, man.
Appreciate you, Josh.
Boy, Pate.
Appreciate you, Pate. Appreciate you, Pate. Let's get back to some college conversation.
Yeah.
Ty Schmidt has a question for you.
Yeah, DJ, you put out your top 50 again today, and there was actually quite a bit of movement post-combine. Is that more so guys that didn't perform well at the combine, or is that guys who performed very well and just, you know, by happenstance, other guys fell? And how much is that going to actually change by the time the draft gets here?
I think that's a great question, Ty. I think there's a bunch of clumps in this draft. Like, if you look at different points in like the top 50, I have, you know, the receiver clump. I think all three of those guys are evenly graded. For me, you've got Matthew Golden, you've got T-Mac at Arizona, you got Ibuka at Ohio State. They're all slightly different. I gave them the exact same grade. So at this point in time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to clump them together. I've got a lot of time between now and the draft. Now I can just do a project where I'm just going to watch those three guys one after another, go watch them against press, go through all those different, you know, cut-ups you can, and try and figure those three out. So it's kind of put those clumps together. We've got the edge rushers, you know, Mike Green, James Pierce. You got Izaraku from Boston College. Like, those guys are all kind of similarly graded. So you're kind of identifying these little clumps, but guys that moved up, you know, I'll give you a couple examples. You look at Max Harrison from Kentucky. We talked about the fact he was gonna run really well, which he did. So that wasn't a surprise. That's not why he moved up. My thing was the tackling was a little bit inconsistent. When you're at the combine, I got more information on him and talking to teams that had visited with him and medical stuff. And they're like, dude, he was playing with a messed up shoulder. So that's why the tackling wasn't as good. So I'm like, okay, I can forgive that sin. Move him up a little bit. Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss, I loved everything about him except the LSU game. I thought they kind of ran away from him a little bit, and it caused me to question his, you know, pure top-end speed. Everything else is really good, fluid, instinctive, can play the ball. I think he goes and runs 4.43. So I'm like, okay, well, that answered the question I had on him. So he moves up a little bit. So that's just kind of a look into the process. And sometimes you see a guy slide 2 or 3 spots, and people are like, what the heck did he do? Why did he fall? I'm like, he didn't fall. There's a couple guys behind him that answered some questions and ended up moving ahead of him. So that's what it is.
Your top 50 prospects are based on these are the best 50, or this is how you think they'll go?
Just mine, just how I rank them, how I stack them. So nothing to go with where, you know, how high they'll go. I have 2 tight ends in the top 6 players in the draft. Those are 2 of the highest graded players in the draft. Now, I don't think when it's all said and done that they're both going to go there in the top 6. But for me, I think they're the 2 of the 6 best players.
So you got Tyler Warren up there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Tyler Warren's way up there, and then I have Loveland right behind him.
Loveland is going to be cleared for action, I do believe. I think he has a pro day or something like that. Some doctor came out and said that was like a big deal this year for the combine. This doctor has sent a note to all the teams letting him know he's not healthy enough to compete at the combine, although he'd want to. He will be back at a later date. That felt more prevalent this year than ever before. Loveland a dog, Tyler Warren a dog. Arroyo right down in Miami. Then there's a Western Kentucky guy. Bowling Green guy.
Bowling Green, yeah, Fannin, yeah.
So this tight end position is becoming more prevalent, you think, as the years go on, or just this class?
It's a really good class. It's as deep of a class. Mason Taylor's going to be a stud too.
Oh, that gauntlet drill.
He's so smooth. He didn't vary off the line. He just drew a perfect line right down.
That's like teach tape, right? Like, hey, this is how the drill is run. And then I saw 25 miles an hour at one point. I think that was maybe the ball that came in.
Yeah, it was picking that
But
up.
nonetheless, he was still at like 20, and it's the tight end, 19, 20 miles an hour, while just boom, boom, boom.
So my uncles growing up, Pat. One of them was a pastor. One of them was
God bless him.
Drove a cab, right? His uncle, his dad, Jason Taylor, is Uncle Zach Thomas. So I think like there's a little bit different upbringing in terms of the football side of things there.
Yeah, but what you did at App State, we'll never forget.
Hell yeah.
We'll never forget up there on the rock, I do believe is the way it is described. Back to the NFL. AJ has a question for you.
Yeah, quasi NFL thing, DJ. We popped those quarterbacks up there, and they're going to be throwing in. It got me thinking of these pro days that are coming up.
Okay.
Is there a chance any of these young quarterbacks go to these pro days and something happens and someone jumps up the board or a team falls in love with maybe a guy other than Cam Ward, Shadur? We know Jackson Dart is up there. Is anyone on this list you think someone could fall in love with after their pro days? And can you actually gain something when you go and you watch a guy throw at his pro day?
Yeah, I would say more the private workout, So if you're a team that's in the quarterback market, you'll go to the pro day. You'll watch them throw there. But you're going to see, more impact based off of a private workout. We're going to ask you to run, throw the routes that we like to feature in our offense. Maybe there's some holes in your game that we have questions about. So in our workout with you, we're going to put you through the paces and see if you can fill those gaps. And when that happens, that's when you see teams fall in love with them. And to be honest, usually when you have those private workouts, they're accompanied by a dinner. You're spending more time around the guy. You just get more comfortable with him and kind of, what he's all about. So, yeah, I think you can absolutely fall in love with a quarterback from here towards we get to the draft. I think there's absolutely a chance that happens. Kyle McCord, by the way, we didn't mention him. He threw it well. He threw it really well in Indy. And, he kind of gave me like Derek Carr vibes coming out of Fresno State. And, Derek started a long time in this league. So he'll have some sponsors.
Yeah, Kyle McCord, a lot of football.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of football. That's a big stat, I think, especially here in Indianapolis. People are starting to respect a lot more. Dude,
experience, man. You're not. It's tough to develop these guys in the NFL. So the more experience, that's just more opportunity, not only on the game field, but on the practice field. You're seeing different coverages. You're making different throws. Like that, those reps just stack up.
And responding not only on the field to different things happening, but in life and as a teammate and as a leader, like knowing how to respond to situations or how not to respond to situations because you've done it in the past or you've experienced. There's a lot of things happening for the first time with Anthony Richardson. Like first time this happens. First time you actually take a big time shot from an adult, okay? First time ever taking one of those. And then you feel that for the first time. How do you respond? Tapping out, making an ass of yourself, basically. Tapping out because you're tired. How do you respond to that? Being a professional, being a teammate. First time, how do you respond to that? So it's like he didn't have a lot of football. So he didn't have a lot of learning curve. Obviously now we're hoping we're getting to the point where he can start kind of cracking into his potential because obviously he can be a superstar. But these guys that are having success, a lot of football. Lot. Jaden Daniels, a lot of football. Yeah. Yep. Cam Ward, a lot of football. All of them have experienced multiple places too now, right? So I think that kind of helps. C.J. Stroud, I guess, only Ohio State Buckeye, but he played a lot of football. It's like Cam Ward, Shador, a lot of ball.
Gabriel.
Jackson Dart, a lot of ball. Dylan Gabriel, a lot of ball. Kyle McCord, a lot of ball. Quinn Ewers, a lot of ball. Yep. It's like Jalen Milroe obviously played a lot of ball. It's like there's a lot of ball in these guys. Even though I guess the top end conversation about a majority of these guys isn't there, it's like a lot of experience, a lot of success, which I think is.
And they've been through it. I think the most important point is they've been through some adversity. Yes. Like that was always. And I was in Baltimore. That was Ozzie Newsome's first question to every player that came through was give me an example of some adversity you've been through and tell me how you got through it and got on the other side of it. And like Bo Nix should be the poster child for that. Like he got run out of the state of Alabama. I mean, the grief that he took from his time at Auburn, And then he gets on the other side of that, goes to Oregon, and takes off like a rocket ship, man. So that shows you somebody that's dealt with real adversity, has overcome it. In the NFL, that day's coming for everybody where you're going to have those moments. So how do you respond to it? And I think a lot of guys that have failed, not just at the quarterback position, but at other positions, man, they're a 5-star kid all the way going up through high school. They're highly recruited. They don't really have any struggle on the college field. They're playing against guys they're always better than each and every week. And then all of a sudden some adversity hits, and it's like they don't know. It's like a shock to them. They don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, and then the ability just to transfer anytime something maybe is mean said to you, that adds into the whole. By the way, if you're a high school player or in the transfer portal or want to get in the transfer portal, we're looking for dogs at West Virginia.
Okay.
There you go.
We are looking for dogs at West Virginia. Just know West Virginia's open this next spring transfer portal.
We're just selling opportunity at App State, baby. You go get your money elsewhere. We're about opportunity at our place, man.
Clyde
Come on
Christensen's up there, I think.
Yes,
Coach,
he is. How about that? Put that on the sales pitch. You want to get coached by somebody who's coached Peyton Manning and Tom Brady? Come on up the hill.
and Andrew Luck. I mean, you're talking about
Yeah.
like that is a weapon. He was at North Carolina, obviously, alongside Drake Maine. He said Drake's the guy, right? You pass on Drake, you pass on a Hall of Famer. I'm
And
telling
he
you.
was right.
This guy's smart, he's athletic, he's fast.
Good kid.
Have you ever had? By the way, I think you slipped a little Trump in there. Have you? Have you seen? Have you ever heard anybody say anything bad about Coach? By the way, ever in your entire life? He's like the best human being.
He owed me $5 for a couple weeks. There were some terrible things said.
Doesn't pay his debt.
No, he does. Fast pay, fast friends, right? That's his kind of his MO. So I was on his board for a while because he would have a putter and then obviously have like a hole in his office. So you'd walk by, hey, like you're walking past a game show, and he'd be like, two putts. You think he can go out in the hallway? I'm rolling it into his office, see if he can make it. And it'd be 5 peanut M&Ms, wouldn't be actual money, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you missed it, you go on the board. And then the next day, if you walk by, it goes, still on the board. It's like a reminder, and I'd been up there for a little bit. I've been up there. He's a legend, man. Great coach. Great man.
He's a good man. Good man.
Him and Frank Reich were my quarterback coaches. So
How about that?
I have a lot of respect for them.
Couple legends.
Yeah.
Frank Reich, I don't know how that all ended with him. I hope he's
Got a
okay.
raw deal.
Him golfing.
I hope he's okay. I genuinely hope he's okay.
If there's anybody you know is going to come back, it's Frank Reich.
2 biggest comebacks, one in college, one in the NFL.
There you go.
What a legend. All right. We appreciate you, DJ. Enjoy the trip. Congrats on 25 years. Quarter of a century is a long time in love,
appreciate it.
brother.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you.
Happy anniversary, DJ. And thank you, Daniel Jeremiah.
Hell yeah.